ideally should be within the control of the government. Okay, things like mismanagement of public funds, embezzlement, things like that. They are all unsystemic. But then you have the systemic, which unfortunately, in the last 6 to 7 years has been significant. Significant. You had the issues in 2016. Okay, we've had the issues in 2020 with COVID and obviously
2016 was the fall of the oil price,
yes,
right?
There were two things that caused the issues in 2016. The first issue was there was what we call an oil glut in the US. So there was a production boom.
Yeah.
There was so much excessive supply of oil in the US. And in fact, it was in 2016 that the US became the largest producer of oil globally. Okay? Now, what that then means is that you had a case where you have excess supply over,
the demand,
demand. Now, there were two things. Supply increased, then demand also decreased. Why did demand decrease? Because there was an issue in China. China faced a sort of, what's it called? Like a bubble that burst, sort of, in China. The global, the stock market in China crashed, literally. Okay, and that affected the financial markets and it affected demand.
Yeah, their demands, yes.
Yeah, demand and all of that. So that obviously had an impact on demand for everything, including demand for oil. So that, obviously, when you have low demand and high supply, prices would inevitably crash. So that is what led to the crash of the oil prices in 2016, and obviously dovetailed into the recession that we had in Nigeria. Okay, so that's what happened. So contrary to what a lot of people think that, oh, it was Buhari that killed, no, it wasn't. There were certain factors that led to those problems that we had in 2016. Of course, we've also mentioned 2020 with COVID and everything. All of those factors are what I'll call systemic. They're all systemic. But then that does not rule out the fact that the country itself has not been complicit. Of course, there are certain things we could have done better than we did to have avoided or to at least have mitigated the risk factors that we experienced.
So do you have a question? Because I wanted to quickly touch on something. You mentioned the unsystemic risk, what do you call the factors?
Yes.
In Nigeria, do you think that if we are tidied up that the unsystemic,
exactly,
what do you call it again?
Unsystemic risk factors.
Risk factors.
Yes.
Do you think if that was nipped, like properly tidied up, even though there was a systemic risk factor, like the ones that we couldn't control,
correct,
right? The COVID, the drop or the excess boom or whatever in the climate change and all of that. Do you think that would have at least the impact would have been as bad as we have it today? Would it, if probably corruption was out of the picture, so many things were out of the picture, which is why people would continue to blame Buhari, because the mandate he came with was that there was not going to be any corruption. But Absolutely. It seemed like it even boomed. I mean, yesterday we took a story. Accountant General, what did they call the man? 80 billion. Do you understand? Somebody just sit down and embezzled such an amount of money under a government that is supposedly supposed to be an anti-corruption government. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you think maybe if that unsystemic risk factor was tidied up,
yes,
would not have had as much impact as when the systemic problems came in?
Yes, I agree with you, absolutely. That's exactly what would have happened. Now, even if we had controlled corruption, even if we had better leadership, we would still have had problems. We would still have had a recession. The only difference is that it wouldn't have been as bad as it was. Okay, now let's take an example. We've had refineries that have not been working for the past maybe 2 decades, right? If those refineries had been working during the periods when we had that oil crash, right, we would have at least have been able to cope a lot better. Because now we're not so much dependent on the US, importing refined petrol from the US, because we can produce locally and also sell locally. So we are more self-dependent. One of the challenges that we face as a country is that we are so dependent on the global economy. So whatever happens in China, whatever happens in the US, it affects us significantly. So we're a very fragile economy. That's the problem. And the reason we're fragile is because we do not have the capacity to be self-reliant. So yes, absolutely, if we had refineries that were working, and that's why I'm quite excited that we're going to have a Dangote refinery coming on board, and then maybe a BOA coming on board maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, that would significantly help. At least, even if it doesn't help anything, it will help our FX. You know, but yes, if we had tidied up on some of those things, it would have helped significantly, but would have still
Had,
would
but
have
it would
still
not
had
have
the problems.
been
It would
this
have been
bad.
as bad as.
Okay, let us quickly take a break, and I'll come to Uti and Mani. I'm sure they have questions. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having already an amazing chat with Bamidele Adewale on understanding the Nigerian economy. We're asking what went wrong and what's the way forward. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow. So, Uti, you had a question.
Yeah, so, I mean, I like that you ended the last statement on FX. Now, at least 3 or 4 people have said to me today, when you say, how are you? They say, well, dollar is 600 naira. So you just talked about our dependence on the global economy. So the fact that a foreign currency becomes part of your daily greeting shows how important it is to us.
Absolutely.
And we've talked on the show before about, I think it was a government official, I can't remember who, that was saying we need to buy Nigerian. So exactly.
Vice President.
So it is clear that FX is a huge part of our economy. We're largely dependent on a lot of things in terms of import. So even if we say we're producing in Nigeria, most of the things, most of the raw materials are still imported. So I just want you to talk a bit about that FX. You know, we hear these numbers just growing, and I'm like, how did we get from 150 to 600 in a matter of a few years? I mean, it just, what is it? What went wrong?
Yeah, what went wrong was essentially a failure in the system. See, there are 2 things that affect FX, right? There's the monetary policy side, and then there's obviously the fiscal policy, right? Now, you could use monetary policy to temporarily manage your FX, right? Interplay of CBN actions, inflation rate, and all of those things. You could manage your FX, and that's what the previous CBN governor did to a very large extent. He tried to use a bit of fiscal policy, but he's limited because he's a CBN governor, so he can only work on monetary policy, right? But then the fact still remains that if you do not sort out the fundamentals of the economy, the FX would always suffer. You understand what I'm saying? So if you don't have infrastructure in place, you would have problems with FX. Eventually, no matter the kind of pattern you try to do with your currency, if you don't encourage local production, you understand, if unemployment keeps rising, if you have insecurity in the system, there would always be problems. Your FX would continue to fall. So the fact that, in my own opinion, as it is now, I'm sorry to say, but I don't see the situation improving in the short term until we get to the point where we're able to sort out fiscal issues. The real sector is thriving. The non-oil sector and the oil sector as well is booming, right? All of those things would have an effect on currency eventually, and then we begin to see the currency improving. But as it is now, there's only one way, there's only one direction that the FX is going to go to, and that's down. It doesn't seem very good, unfortunately.
Well, I guess maybe just to follow up quickly on that, because we are dependent today on, it almost seems like our singular source of FX is oil.
Yes.
So when you talked about the non-oil exports, this was something we used to have in the past.
Correct.
So today, even as much as we're saying buy Nigerian, are we really, because I know this administration in particular has been a huge proponent of agriculture, of the whole agro-allied chain.
Yes.
So are we actually making any progress in that space?
You know, that's why I mentioned going back to the basics. Because if you want to solve a problem, you have to tackle that problem from the source. Now, why are we not producing the way we are supposed to be producing? Take agric, for instance. Why is the agric sector not thriving? Agric is supposed to be the largest employer of labor in the country. It is the largest, it still is the largest employer. But it's suffering. Why? Because there's insecurity. So if you say you want to start tackling FX, right, through all sorts of financial gymnastics and all of that, and you have not sorted out security, you're wasting your time. So you have to go to the source. Tackle the insecurity problem. Let farmers go back to their farms.
So that means, from what you are saying, it is safe to say that truly somebody was right about the current administration. Because, yes, we've had cases of insecurity in the past, but it is not this bad. That people cannot comfortably drive on the road without the fear of being kidnapped or being robbed. You know, do you understand my point? So it means that it is actually safe to say that this administration, in terms of what's it called, the economy, they are the cause of the problem that we are in. But let me come to money, because I don't have.
You know, like what you're just saying now, I asked the question when you talked about the Okada ban. I said, what happens to these Okada riders?
Yes.
So if you're talking about a case of insecurity, it's growing daily because we are not doing anything to stop issues. How can you ban the Okada and you have nothing for them? Those people have families. So what next? They're going to take to kidnapping. They're going to take to robbery. So what are you going to do about that as a government? So what I see here is we recycle our problems. If it's not this today, it's this tomorrow. One day, one problem. In the 70s and in the 80s, we had a lot of factories, you know, producing a lot of things here. We had even car factories or car
assembly plants,
assembling parts here, and now they're no more.
No, but I hear Peugeot has been revived in Kaduna State. I also hear that the textile companies in Kaduna State also have been revived.
That's very good.
Yes.
So what can we do now to attract more of this? If we have these two people here, so maybe we need to find out why are they here, why are they in Kaduna, and what do we do to attract more of these investors?
I think we need to, as much as possible, parley with the private sector. I think we should get the private sector more involved, because clearly the government doesn't have the capacity to do these things themselves.
I don't even think the government is supposed to do everything.
The government isn't supposed to do everything. As far as I'm concerned, as an emerging economy, or should I say frontier economy, that Nigeria is, I think what the government should be focusing on more is regulation. Just provide oversight sort of functions and all of that, but then let the private sector come and drive the economy. Because I'm sure there are quite a lot of entrepreneurs out there who can revive the textile industry, for instance. There are people who are willing to do it. All they just need is just the support. They need the enabling environment. So the government should just take a step back and allow the private sector come in, right, and then drive this. We're already seeing it in the oil sector with Dangote refinery and all of that. But we need to do it a whole lot more.
But I read somewhere yesterday about Dangote needing $1 billion, that he does not have enough oil. He needs $1.1 billion to complete the refinery.
Dangote.
So, I read it somewhere.
There goes another Nigerian issue.
Wait.
You start something and you don't finish it.
Yes, maybe you wait first. So the question I want to ask you is that when you say that the government should create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, what are so let's break down what enabling environment would mean for businesses. You understand? Is it that they are providing the security architecture? What exactly are they providing?
Or the funding.
Or what is that enabling environment?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said funding, because obviously funding is critical. If you don't have funding, and when I say funding, I'm talking of affordable funding, because there are different types. There's cheap funding and there's expensive funding. So part of what Sanusi did when he was CBN governor was he tried to create intervention funds for critical sectors, like the Power and Innovation Fund, the Agric Sector Fund, and all of that. So that's what we need to see more happen. Real estate, for instance, I'm into real estate, and I can tell you one of the things that is really killing our industry is the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs do not have access to funding, or those who have access to funding don't have access to affordable funding.
Very expensive.
Okay, so it's very expensive.
So what's the role of the Bank of Industry in all of this?
The Bank of Industry is an arm of the government, and they do not work in isolation or independent of the government. So the policy formulation still comes from the government. The Bank of Industry is just there to implement those reforms and those policies. So it has to come from the government. The Minister of Finance has to come up with certain reforms that would help the Bank of Industry support the real sector. So like I said, single-digit loans, for instance, for critical sectors is absolutely.
Do you think the country can afford to give single-digit loans? I mean, you're in the banking industry. You have to help me.
Affording to give single-digit loans. You talked about risk. I mean, NPLs is a very real risk. It can put a bank in the ground very quickly. Absolutely. So the double digits that you're seeing is a function of the risk that goes into repaying those loans.
So what constitutes that risk?
No, so that's why I'm saying that when you think about it, one change in government policy today can wipe out an industry.
Everything.
BDCs woke up one day and their licenses were invalid. They were shut down. So the entire thing is an ecosystem. And there are real factors there. But I love when you went into the real side. Uwa started to ask, or took part of my question away to say, what are the things that are the real sector? Your sector, for example, real estate. I hear the numbers that you people call for soil, for land, the soil, the sand and dirt that you call. And I'm like, where do people find this money, right? We don't have a thriving mortgage system. We don't have let me not say thriving, we don't have an inclusive mortgage system. So when you talk about double digits, we're driving an industry that should be based on long-term funding. We're driving it on cash money. Like, that in itself must have an impact surely on the economy, because you are pricing the people who need mortgages out of the market. Because if I come today with my 200 million and I buy a house, ideally, the next time, that house maybe should not have gone for more than 150 million, and then somebody has a chance to buy with a mortgage. So this because you're in the real estate industry, I'm just going to put your industry on the spot a little bit. You guys are not helping the industry, or you're not helping the economy, or are you?
It still boils down to the environment, really. You spoke about the fact that, I mean, the real estate industry, and we all know that is an issue with funding, right? But then we have the NHF, and I'm sure you're aware of the NHF, right? The National Housing Fund, which offers loans to individuals and corporates at 6%.
That is not open to everybody.
That's the problem. So it's not so much a problem of lack
Even
of...
with NHF, sorry to cut you. Even with NHF, a lot of it is still... The thing you are buying is still priced way above what
overpriced.
The NHF can
what Uti is even trying to say, let me say it in my laywoman English, because sometimes I don't understand how real estate... A place that is bush, there's no road to the place, and you call on a ridiculous amount of money. Sorry. Do you understand? Like, it is. So for me, I think is a false economy. That you're in a bubble. In a lot of
the prices.
Do you understand? Who fixed these prices? Because let me tell you something. God. For me to buy a property abroad, it is the environment I'm paying for. I am paying for the infrastructure in that environment. Yes. You know, I'm paying for all of those things.
But we just pay for bush.
You just see a house like this. There's no water. You will even swim canoe. What? You go enter into the corner. You will kayak there. You will kayak there. And somebody will now call you 100 million. I say, like, really? So tell me, I don't understand. And because again, if we want to solve this problem, a big issue that I know that affects a lot of pockets of Nigerians, this economic issue, is housing. Housing is one of the biggest problems a lot of people have.
Yes.
But, you know, because, first of all, I have never seen where you pay upfront for something you've not even earned. You've not earned the money. and somebody is asking you for a year's rent and all of those kind of things. So if there was an opportunity, if I was earning a 300,000 naira salary and I had an opportunity to pay 150,000 as down payment every month towards a property that I would eventually own, I would pick that option as opposed to paying rent. Do you understand? So we're not even getting it right in any of the sectors. And your sector is one of the biggest sectors that can actually change the trajectory of the economy.
Absolutely.
Because if people have taken that headache of housing off their necks, what do you think happens to the other economy? Business will thrive because they're no longer stressed to think of, oh, how do I put down one big money again for accommodation and all of that? Do you understand?
Yes.
So help me
I get you. I mean, it still boils down to the government. The government has a critical role to play in this space. Yeah, obviously, because now let's face it, the government controls, the law gives the government the power over property, over real estate in this country. Yes, because based on the Land Use Act, government owns all the land. As a matter of fact, individuals cannot really own land. You can only lease, you can only rent land from government for 99 years. That's what the COO gives you. That's the right it gives you. So the government is really the custodian and the owner of the land. So the government needs to find a way to create affordable real estate. How do they do that?
I don't understand. Is it the government that is putting the prices on the land?
No, I'll tell you why those prices are skyrocketing. It's because the government has so much land. They haven't released this land. They're not selling a lot of this land. They're keeping it, right? So the land that is now left to the privates to own and deal with, right? Those lands are few in number, right? But then the demand for those properties is high. And it's simple economics. When the demand is high and the supply is low, the prices will inevitably go up. So what the government needs to do is to ensure that it pushes the supply up to meet up with the demand, so that there's a bit of an equilibrium. That way prices will come down.
The land is finite.
Exactly.
You say that,
I don't agree with you. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
The land is the what they call it now. The square meter size of Nigeria is not about to change. So we are always, even at the size of our economy, supply will always outweigh demand. Even if you share it 1 square meter at a time. I don't know what the size of Nigeria is off the top of my head, but I hear you when you say that. But my question is, the government isn't setting the prices, right? And a land today that is 30 million, give it a few months, is 60 million. Please, what is driving that? I can understand if it is a house that is on the land. So I say, okay, as dollar is rising, as dollar is rising, right? Cost of building materials are rising. So I can even understand and relate if it is a house. But this is dirt, soil, and like literally.
So let's go back. We're not yet to talk land. Let's go back to the economics of the land.
That's the thing. It's a key driver.
Yeah.
You talked when you said
actually.
You are talking about the economy. There are some industries that have boomed in recent times. The real estate industry didn't exist for me in the 80s. In the 80s, there was no agent. There was no anything. You want to rent a house, who you know.
Yeah, a chain.
So you are adding a lot of value. You have that industry employs everybody today is an agent. We had a situation in the green room where we're talking about securement fee. And somebody immediately walked up to us and said, I know an agent. So you are adding to the economy as an industry, no doubt. So let me segue, like Uwa said, back into the economy. The real sector is where we need to focus on. Entrepreneurship is the driver. Do we have, what was that thing that we had now? PEBEC and the ease of doing business. If you listen to the government today, they will tell you that we've done a lot. The vice president has done a lot of work. Maybe because I'm not an entrepreneur in my everyday life. Maybe that's why I'm not seeing the effects of it. But what else can we do today to really support the real sector? Because that's where we know the change is going to come.
To happen for the economy. And we have that in 1 minute or two.
What else can we do to support the real sector? I'll still go back to the issue of funding. It has to be, you have to provide them. I mean, maybe it's because I'm speaking from a point of where I am currently in my own space, because I know how much funding will help my business. Okay, so obviously that has to be done. But then even in terms of the efficiency in approving projects, for instance, just paperwork, documentation, and all of those things, that efficiency has to be improved upon. Okay, for instance, to build a house, right, you have to spend at least 3 to 4 to 5, sometimes 6 months just getting the building approval done. Meanwhile, you've already paid for the land. You've probably borrowed money to pay for that land. Your interest is counting, and your approval is sitting in someone's desk.
So those systems.
So the systems, the structures, everything has to be efficient, and that's why I will keep saying that we need to get the private sector involved as much as possible, because the reality is that the government just doesn't have the level of efficiency or capacity to do these things. So get as much private guys to come in, consultants. Let them partner with the government. Let them try and ensure that they clean the system up and make things a lot more efficient.
Absolutely.
That way business will be a lot easier to do.
Let's take quickly comments, then we can run.
So I have Sule from Bauchi who says, Nigeria's GDP grew by 3.4%. We're doing better than any economy in the world. For the first time, we're investing in infrastructure that matters. Examples, the rail, the ports, and airports. Now you know Nigeria went into recession. Remember, the refineries died under PDP, so we're making this political okay. The refinery in River State is coming up in the first quarter of 2023. With what is going on in the world, Nigerians would have died of hunger if not because of Buhari and the CBN. We see where this is going.
That's what you think?
No administration has invested in military equipment like this administration. Facts, okay. One of the enabling environments in the tax credits is the tax credits given to companies like Dangote, Glo, MTN, and NNPC to build roads.
Nani, quickly.
Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying #ways. Concerning the Nigerian economy and the way forward, the economic system has been bad and terrible since last year during the time of COVID-19, and it has really affected jobs and businesses as a whole, and people could not even put food on the table. Like my dear beautiful sister Mani said, let's take for instance the Okada ban. The Okada man that you end up banning cannot make ends meet by feeding his family, and you make it difficult for him to even live up to expectations and be responsible. If you ban an Okada man and it is only source of livelihood, you must provide an alternative for him to survive, to feed his family at least. Man must work. My name is Daniel Ilo.
So, in one word, do you see us coming out of this quickly as a way forward? When we do involve the private sector and focus on the what's it called, the non-oil sectors?
Can I not answer this in one word? Because I think it's always impossible.
Yeah.
But I think it has to be a combination of the political issues and the economic. So they are two different things, and I try not to mix them up most times. So you have the political side, which is obviously leadership. Once you can solve that, issues around corruption, for instance, will be solved. Okay, issues around efficiency in the way they do things will be solved. So that's by the side. But then the economics of things, you have infrastructure has to be in place, because that's where everything sort of springs up from, right? But beyond that, one major problem we have in this country is our tax. Tax to GDP is one of the lowest globally, and a lot of people don't talk about this
imagine
enough.
if we start to tax.
Yes, because remember that we have. What we have in this country is not so much a debt problem. People talk about our debt being so high, right?
It is the collection of the revenue.
It is the revenue.
Revenue.
It's the revenue. Our debt to GDP is not so high compared to other countries. What is high is our debt to revenue ratio. So we need to increase our revenues.
Absolutely.
Now, and I'm not saying we should increase tax rates, please, before anybody comes and starts throwing things at me.
We are running out of time because before we go, thank you so much, Bamidele. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Uti. Now, before we go and show, you follow us on Instagram at Way Show Africa 1 with that #Way Show. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. If you missed today's quote, here it is again. It's simple. Good government is one of the most important factors in economic growth and social well-being. I think it's very self-explanatory. We'll see you guys live on Monday at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria. welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetomobi.
Hello and welcome to Space and Style, a property show designed to connect various stakeholders across the property value chain. We can also provide realistic solutions and deepen your knowledge about the interesting world of real estate. We shall showcase architectural design, interior design trends, lifestyle and real-time property news updates, and the right way to navigate through property development and investment. Join me every week on this channel as I take you through an exciting journey in the world of real estate.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. Right, no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity. No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
On the breakfast today, the People's Democratic Party begins primary elections to nominate candidates for the 2023 general elections in various states. We take a look at the conduct of those primaries.
Also on the breakfast, we'll be speaking with an expert too on how to end obstetrics fistula.
And also don't forget, we'll also look at the headlines of the front pages of today's national dailies, analyzing the biggest stories of the day. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. And what is a beautiful Monday morning, reaching you live from our studios in Victoria Island, Lagos. I'm Kofi Bartels.
And I am Mercy Bopo. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and it feels really great to be back on your screen. Not a great one for Liverpool fans.
And you decided to come to work wearing red, Mercy.
You know.
Where's your shame? Where's
don't
your
red.
shame?
No, it's not a shame. I mean, you can say that now, Kofi.
Anyway, but it's okay. I mean, as a football fan who has a soft side for Arsenal, I just want to talk about the Premier League. I moved on, really. moved on. But anyway, that's a good way to start a look at the trending stories within the country and around the world. A lot of social media buzz and attention being taken, generated by.
Why do I feel like you're very happy?
The final. I'm not too happy about that, but I'm happy in life, generally, all the time.
No, I know you're happy in life, but I'm just
Prozac inside of me.
No, but I'm just saying that you feel like you're just happy about the outcome of the game.
Well, I mean, I'm a fan of Arsenal Football Club, and they didn't make the top four. Why should I be happy? Not happy at all. But I mean, we have to move on. But the buzz generated by the final day's play in the Premier League took over social media. It was quite interesting. Almost, it was reminiscent of the Manchester City first league victory. Remember that famous victory where it was Manchester City versus Manchester United, and Aguero had to score that last-minute goal against Queen's Park Rangers to lift the title. It was 2 games, and that's how it was. I was surprised because I kept my eyes on the Arsenal game. I just didn't want to watch any other game. But I was surprised to come into the second half and see that Manchester City were down by 2-0. It was a big surprise, Mercy, for me to see that. And I mean, I never expected it. So it was a nail-biting finish to the game. If Manchester City had drawn, Liverpool had won, Liverpool would have walked away with the title. If Manchester City had lost, Liverpool had won, Liverpool would have walked away with the title. Last 80, it was the last ditch goal by Ilkay Gundogan to seal the victory for Manchester City. They've won the title now for the 4th time in 5 years, basically colonizing the Premier League. I'm not too happy about that as well, but that's what transpired. Last ditch goal. I mean, look at the Manchester City or the Aston Villa goals. Came in the 37th minute, it was 1-0. Then in the 69th minute, it was 2-0. Philippe Coutinho scored the second goal, your former player. And Gundogan had to come onto the field of play in the second half and was able to get 1 goal back, 76th minute. Rodri scored a goal to make it 2-2. And we all thought, okay, can these guys really score 3 goals? I mean, it's amazing. We must give it to them.
No, you must give it to them. And the fact that, they've actually always been there. And one would think that, I know that a lot of persons were rooting for Liverpool. You had a lot of support and all of that. But it doesn't also take out the fact that you have Liverpool winning their match, in a grand style. But it was also dependent on the fact that if Manchester City would lose, then it would be a plus for them. But that didn't really happen because of the comeback that they actually had. And it's a great one. But you can also take the fact that Manchester City is a great team, and Pep Guardiola has been doing a great work, with the boys. Fantastic comeback, and that's exactly what happened, just like you have mentioned. No one saw that coming, but it happened, and that's the beauty of football. Really saddening, especially for Liverpool fans and Liverpool themselves. Even though you also want to give it, at some point you have the coach saying that at the first season, during the first season and first session or first half of the season, you can't really say that Liverpool were really consistent in terms of the play. So the inconsistency actually led to that. It was just 1 point, one point away. One vote can change.
What
it's like
say,
1 vote, 1 point,
yes.
anything can make the difference.
What they say in football is you have your fate in your hands. You have your fate in your hands. So Manchester City, they had their fate in their hands. They knew what they had to do. And football is sometimes it's not good. If all the time it's not good to rely on another team helping you beat your opponent to be able to make it to the next round or to win or to qualify.
I see.
For instance, Arsenal were relying on Norwich City to beat Tottenham, which was, almost impossible for them to make that top 4, when they could have won against Newcastle and then also maybe held Tottenham to a draw, to just because they had it in their hands. They bottled it. Liverpool too, there was a match they drew. I think it was against Tottenham that really affected them. So when you place your fate in another person's hand, then of course this is what you have. It was surprising, really surprising to see that Man City were down 2-0 at home. I don't know what happened. Maybe I've been thinking about it. How can such a great team be 2-0 down to Aston Villa? But maybe sometimes the occasion gets to you, the tension of the day, because Man City are good, But they proved themselves resilient. This is the second time they're coming down from behind to win, So it's great. But one of the side stories to this victory was the fact that the Manchester City fans poured onto the pitch, at the final whistle to celebrate with their team. And you saw fans, in fact, the stewards had to, literally drag the players away. Some players wanted to celebrate with the fans because they were happy. You see the likes of John Stones, reluctant to leave the field, but the stewards had to drag them away so that they could be safe. But Manchester City have had to apologize to Robin Olsen, the second goalkeeper, the goalkeeper on the day for Aston Villa, after Steven Gerrard, the coach of Aston Villa, claimed that his goalkeeper was attacked during that pitch invasion at the Etihad Stadium. And the videos are already on social media where it shows that Olsen, the goalkeeper, appeared to be holding his head as he emerged from the crowd. And these are some of the dangers we've seen in fans embarking on pitch invasions. When Everton were able to win their last game against Crystal Palace, the previous game, and achieve safety in the Premier League, the fans also went onto the pitch. These are the things we're seeing about the Premier League that need to be worked on. But apart from Manchester City winning the league, it won't be fair if we talk about Man City winning the league and Arsenal not making it into the top 4, And do not talk about the teams that escaped relegation. It was also gilt edge. You know, it was dependent on that day. The final relegation slot was decided on that day, and I predicted on radio last week that I think Leeds will stay up and Burnley will go down. You know, that was the last slot to determine who was going to go down. And thankfully, my prediction came true as Leeds United were able to beat Brentford away, which was a wonderful feat. And they stayed up while Burnley lost to Newcastle. And, of course, they have gone down, you know.
Well, we can also say that, you know, Liverpool actually put out a fantastic play right there over the Wolves. And the fact that, like you have rightly mentioned, when you put your faith in another man's hand, you can actually decide what would actually happen.
Yes,
so it was a situation.
Absolutely.
3-1 was the game. Fantastic play right out there. I also remember looking at, you know, a picture at the time where you had Mo Salah putting out the goal, and then I'm sure he was very, I mean, looking at that goal and the expression, it could have been that, hey, we're taking it on.
them anywhere.
But then, you know, you could see there was also a picture of a fan trying to let him know that, hey, guy, Man City is ahead of you.
Yes,
you know, the goals are like this, and that's it. But it's okay. One of the things that you have Jurgen Klopp saying is that I think that they weren't really consistent at the time when the season started, and so if they put your thoughts together and put your acts together, they might just come better. But it was a fantastic one, and congratulations to Man City winning the Premier League and to all of the fans there.
Indeed.
All right, so we move away from that. Another one is the fact that you have a building collapsing in Lagos Island. Again, it seemed to be a very consistent act that's been going on for a very long time. If you look at statistics and reports, there are reports that between 2000 or 2005 up until 2000 and 2020, if you like to say, we've had like 152 building collapse in Lagos, and it caused for a lot of concern. So one would think that with the Ikoyi, because with that collapse, it was like it was the climax of it. It was the epic of it. It was just everything. And we would learn our lessons and we'll get to action. It's a combination of government and the people. When you talk about the people at this point, talk about the developers and those who own these properties and the fact that we need to do right thing. But doing the right thing, we can never overemphasize that we need to do the right thing at all times. I don't even think that we need to get to a point where we have government pushing and asking that we need to do the right thing as a people. Yes. So imagine that you're a developer and then you're being contracted by the owners of the properties, and then you don't even have to divert, because according to reports that we have, and the reports, which is actually authentic, it's been verified by the authorities, is that this said building was a bungalow and then it was being converted to a story building. How do you explain all of that? These are the reasons. Over time, statistics and reports have actually stipulated that the reason why you have all of this collapse is because there's always, you know, some conversion. We want to cut corners. You have an original plan, then you want to divert from the original plan and get to another. So it's a lot for us, but we don't really get to think about it. But who should take the blame? Should it be all about the blame? It's quite unfortunate that every other time, I mean, 2021, 2022, prior to this time, we still talk about building collapsing in Lagos, and it feels like there's nothing that happens. And in all of this, we get to loss. I mean, we're talking about the loss of lives. Okay, let's leave the properties. People die in the course of this. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, people are dying, and for a mistake that could have been corrected.
Indeed, Mercy, it's sad. You know, yesterday we heard that 3 more bodies were recovered from the rubbles of that 3-story building, which collapsed under construction. This is another building under construction. I think the last major one, I mean, they're all major, but the last 2, the one in Ikoyi was also under construction. So yesterday, 3 more bodies were recovered from the rubbles of that 3-story building under construction, which collapsed at Freeman Road 4 Alayaki Lane in Lagos Island. This should be the second amongst the past 3 that has happened in Lagos Island. So that recovery of the 3 more bodies brings the total number of deaths to 4. 4 people have died in this latest building collapse in Lagos. This time in Lagos Island, 5 people we're told have been rescued alive. According to the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, they're saying that the building was in violation of safety protocol. And this is something that we must note. We must take note of. The building was in violation of safety protocol. The Lagos State Emergency Management Agency also is saying that they discovered that the building had been captured by the Lagos State Building Control Agency. It's the agency that looks at buildings and approves and controls and sees which is perfect and fit to continue. So they said this building control agency, the district office of the building control agency had captured this building, and that they had served the developer with all the statutory notices. They had also sealed these statutory notices at the district and central enforcement level. So they have district offices for the state building control agency, and then at the central level or the central office, they had done that. Now, there were investigations conducted, which also went on to reveal that the developer had continued, despite these notices, to clandestinely work on the building. And we're told that he was working mostly at night and on weekends. So, of course, at night, you don't expect that the authorities will come looking for you. They'll be at home resting, and on weekends as well. This is what we're told, So it's sad, We blame authorities a lot of times, but this is a clear case of the authorities actually serving notices to a developer. Do not work.
No,
yes.
So in this particular case, no one is. It's a situation because usually, like I mentioned earlier on, it's a combination of the people and a combination of government. And we always say that we can't blame government at all times, for everything that's going on, because we also have a responsibility a role to play. So, for instance, if you follow, if there are statistics and reports saying that 152 or thereabout had collapsed at a certain time, between 2005 to 2020, then we should pay attention to it. We're talking about those who are saddled with the responsibility, these contractors, without even having the government going about monitoring and looking out for ensuring that you're living up to expectation and you're doing the needful. We're saying you should consider the fact that this would have an implication. The implication would be that people would die if you don't do the right thing. That's what we're saying, and this has been going on. So it's not about putting the blame on the people, like I stated earlier on. It's a combination of the people and the government. You can't take that away. It's okay that you have disaster risk management reduction, and then you have government setting up. Government has set up agencies. You have this borders checking. And most of the times, a lot of people would say that government, these agencies that have been set up have looked away. They've turned their eyes, and for whatever reason, taken bribe or whatever you want to explain. But the point is, if you have at the point where a building has been flagged, so because I know that sometimes you move around and then you see like an asterisk red on a particular structure. What does that mean? If it's been flagged, why don't you follow it to the latter? Yes. But this is where we bring the conversation to an end. We're saying that we need to do the right thing. We can't continue like this and expect a different result. Buildings will continue to collapse in Nigeria if we do not wake up and do the needful.
All right, that's a trending segment right here on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. When we return, we dive straight into the pages of the national dailies. We have analysis of today's newspaper headlines. Still watching The Breakfast.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating. and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Hello and welcome to Space and Style, a property show designed to connect various stakeholders across the property value chain. We can also provide realistic solutions and deepen your knowledge about the interesting world of real estate. We shall showcase architectural design, interior design trends, lifestyle and real-time property news updates, and the right way to navigate through property development and investment. Join me every week on this channel as I take you through an exciting journey in the world of real estate.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
It's the Breakfast in Plus TV Africa. We'll take you through the pages of our dailies as always at this time, and Opunabo Kataria is on standby. He joins the conversation via Zoom. It's good to have you join us this morning, Opunabo Kataria.
Good morning, Messi, and good morning, Kofi. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper this morning. On the front page of the Leadership newspaper, it's boldly written, 2023 postponement of APC presidential screening unsettles aspirant. That's what you find underneath. No new date for exercise yet as president meets with aspirant on Wednesday. Jonathan's name pops. According to this rider, says it pops up again in APC presidential permutations. May get parties weaver to run. Southeast presidential aspirant meet in Abuja and forge alliance. Any breach during party primaries will invalidate entry process. INEC wants. I mean, I'm very, very excited about how INEC is very staying, with their position on the situation. Again, you have 4 killed in Akwa Ibom Bielsa as PDP holds reps and State House Assembly primaries. That's another caption you find on the Leadership. Electoral Act, APC's token crisis to stall 2023 elections. That's what the PDP is saying. Can holds peaceful protest in state. FCT. The death of Deborah Yakubu. That's what you find here. And farmers worry over insecurity. Climate change orders as planting season begins. Climate change, are we in control? And over insecurity, are we in control? These are some of the questions we probably need to answer. Nigeria did not endorse the OECD minimum corporate tax agreement. Federal government appoint Chukwumayere as acting accountant general. Forensic audit, presidency stops unexpected NNDC project. The headlines this morning on the Leadership.
Let's switch over to the Nation newspaper this morning with the big one there. Drama clashes, upsets at PDP reps assembly primaries. Drama clashes, upsets at PDP reps assembly primaries with a rider. Opposition party to pick senatorial candidates today. More from the Nation newspaper. APC insists on screening Jonathan Emefiele Ngige. It's a case of, will you screen me by force? So is this a by force screening or what? Anyway, APC insists on screening Jonathan Emefiele Ngige. Details on page 5. Gunmen kill 4 kids, mom, 2 others. Police station raised. This should be somewhere in the southeast, if I'm not mistaken. Details on pages 2 and 4. 4 bodies recovered in collapsed building in Lagos. Lagos Arewa community OK's Okada restriction. Interesting one there. Firms, businesses await CBN's decision on rates. Talking about the monetary policy rate or the interest rate set by the Monetary Policy Committee, the MPC. And at the bottom of that front page, ex-convict returnee held for importing cocaine. Ex-convict returnee held for importing cocaine and can protest killing of Deborah. Finally, someone seems to be speaking up about that. Those are headlines on the front page of The Nation.
So you have a lot of interesting headlines on the Nigerian Tribune, but we take them as we can. The bold caption says, APC again about screening of presidential aspirant. It probably might just be dominating all of the headlines or front pages of our national dailies this morning. Now, underneath, Umahi Okorocha orders Sikh party to concede presidential ticket to Southeast. NAS governorship aspirant angry with the APC National Working Committee. Demeji Bankole canvasses modified consensus to decide APC's candidate. And Naira slides to 610 per dollar at parallel market. Some people say 611. And what's the difference? 1 naira. Exchange rate gap widens to 191 naira. ASU strikes security tightened at international airport. And Soludo places 10 million naira bounty on killers of Anambra lawmaker. Nigerian dealers turn to accidented car for profits. You also have the Arawa community direct members to obey Okada ban. You also have another caption saying, Kairos suspension cancellation characterized the PDP primaries. And can RCCG overseer demand justice for Deborah, say no to killing of Christians? Electoral Act, 5 reasons Buhari has not signed amendment. President pressured to delay signing for tenure elongation, PDP alleges. Amendment to Electoral Act on delegate illegal, Falana is quoted. It can be done, says Ubani. We just move away. We have more interesting headlines. We just take this one. Primaries, loyalty 2019 experience pushing Mohammed Bala ahead of orders, the PDP members quoted to say, but that's the much we can take this morning on the Nigerian Tribune.
And we'll round it off with a look at the headlines on the front pages, on the front page of the Punch this Monday morning. The big one there, governorship primaries, crisis rocks Rivers, Oyo, Benue, factions rejects delegates list. Crisis rocks Rivers, Oyo, Benue, factions reject delegates list. And the writers to that headline, process skewed in Rivers, no delegates election in Benue, factional leaders in Adelabu, Folari factions produce 2 delegates lists in Oyo, await NWC's verdict. Nigeria loses 2.2 trillion naira revenue to oil production delays, according to report. Details on page 27. Subscribers kick as FG slams 90 billion naira new tax on phone calls. How about that? Details on page 27. Nigerians spend $22 million on foreign education in 3 months. This is according to a report by the Central Bank of Nigeria. We've frozen accounts of 50 firms operating loan apps, FCCPC Boss. And at the bottom of that front page, the following headlines: Deborah protesting Abuja, Kaduna, Benue, Plateau, Osun churches defy government ban, condemn jungle justice. And will government have such a ban? Reps summon minister as agency auctions 2 billion naira assets for 13.6 million naira. Talk about shikini money. That's a classic example there. Details on page 35. Children at risk of severe monkeypox cases, NCDC. Ondo Motekun naps 4,000 suspects, says crime reducing. And we have a final few headlines at the bottom of that front page. Wike jittery, Dagogo is contesting governorship. Rivers PDP may not have candidate for election, according to lawyer. And Mechanic Union ex-chairman assaults 2 Lagos panel beaters. Victims go dumb. And 1 killed as violence. Parallel polls, PDP primaries. The paper said 4. I think it was the Tribune or the leadership that said 4. And the Punch is saying 1. Let's now turn our attention to our guest analyst for this morning, Opunabo Inko-Taria. Miss Inko-Taria, thanks for your time. I think I can predict, like Nostradamus, which story will most interest you on the front page of the Punch newspaper. So let's start from that. A lawyer claiming that Yeson Wike, whom you know well, is jittery over Farada Gogo's contesting the governorship election, and says Rivers PDP may not have a candidate for that election. Is this possible?
Well, first, let me make an observation. I just wish my beards are going to be as black as they are on the screen. That would have been very beautiful. Honestly. Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Yes. I haven't said that your question is if the PDP is going to have or participate in the general elections in 2023, is it?
Yes, if the lawyer's prediction is possible.
Well, yes, there is that likelihood because if they go to court challenging the arrest and detention, which to me is illegal because the Federal High Court in Abuja had restrained the security agencies, the governor, the attorney general, and co. From arresting Farah Dagogo before a puny court, that's an inferior court, which is a magistrate court, ordered his arrest. I mean, that was so ridiculous, and especially coming from a governor who himself is a grey wig, a very senior member of the bar. So this will tell you that the whole thing has been orchestrated because they are scared of Farah Dagogo's political clout, which they have even added to by his arrest. It wasn't completely necessary. Farah Dagogo has been arrested and detained on trumped-up charges. He was not there on that day. If he had gone through the charge list, they did not also accuse him of coming into that venue with dogs. Those who were arrested and are in detention also said they were not there at the behest of Farah Dagogo and so on. So you could see some level of conspiracy. And you have denied him his right, robbed him his right of screening and contesting. And this is in contravention of the Constitution. And so if the lawyers should go to court and they can canvass these issues and the court is pleased and satisfied that what they did to Farah Dagogo, because it will start from the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, that what they did to Farah Dagogo was illegal and they denied him his right, of course the court will say no, will insist on his right. And what does that mean? If they say the screening is passed, then Farah Dagogo, one of his grounds will be, then there should be no primaries for the PDP because he has been robbed of his rights. So many issues could arise therefore. So there is possibility, although it is subject to the court's pronouncement, but there is a strong possibility that if they take this matter to court, I want to believe that there might not be primaries or elections rather in the PDP might not participate in the forthcoming general elections. Unless the court will also say that anybody could be robbed, could be denied his right, it doesn't matter, let the elections go on. Well, yeah, these things have reached our jurisprudence, so we are going to hear. It's a novelty, and let's wait to hear what, because I strongly believe that the issue of his participation, which is quite distinct from his arrest, will be subjected to the clinical prognosis of the legal lab, and a judicial pronouncement will be made on that, and we'll take it from there. Not just at the High Court, not just at the Court of Appeal, but it will get up to the Supreme Court. Most of us don't have confidence in most of these High Court judges because most of these governors influence their appointment, influence their judgment, and to a very large extent, judgments are being procured. So we look at the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court.
Let's take a quick look at the Nigerian Tribune this morning. It talks about the president and not signing the Electoral Act. I mean, there are a lot of thoughts that have been put out. Some people have also said that the reason for all of this is so that, it might just be for the personal interest of the president, elongation of his tenure. And you also have other quarters saying that it's actually desperate APC leaders behind the delay by the president in signing the amendment to the Electoral Act 2022 to frustrate the conduct of the primaries by political parties. So a lot's going on. But what do you make of all of this, thoughts that have been put out this morning?
Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think the new Electoral Act principally, the amended Electoral Act principally has to do with the inclusion of certain delegates. I think that's principally what it has to do. I don't know if there are other substantive issues in the amended Electoral Act awaiting the president's signature. And if that is the case, I don't see how that is going to elongate the tenure of Mr. President. I don't think so. I don't think there's really anything in that Electoral Act that will elongate the tenure of Mr. President. In any case, the president nothing can even elongate his tenure. That is the truth about it, because the tenure of the president is constitutional. And unless you amend the constitution, you cannot extend the tenure of anybody in office if that tenure is within the cognizance of the constitution. You can't extend it. So I don't subscribe to such arguments. Of course, people will come up with all kinds of ridiculous arguments, and this is politics. It's like Facebook. Most times you go to Facebook or you go to the social media, apart from the grammar, the semantics, and so on, if you go through the logic of the argument, you begin to wonder if most of these people came from space or whatever, So I don't think that has to do with that. Now, there is so much pressure so that you can have certain persons participate as delegates. It's like the National Assembly members, even the governors, the presidents, their deputies, and so on. Right now, they are not automatic delegates. So that, because they are going to be robbed of that right, a lot of them are angry, they are incensed, because there are also advantages of being an automatic super delegate. There are the advantages are numbers. And so they are not happy, and that's why they are mounting all kinds of pressure on Mr. President to sign the Electoral Act. That does not in any way, whether he signs or not, will affect the tenure of the present administration. Come May 29, the administration will leave off. It's as simple as that. Willy-nilly, it will leave off. Otherwise, there will be serious crisis that will lead to the extinction of the country called Nigeria. Especially right now that the tenure ligatures have been so threatened that any slight mistake on the part of the government will lead to the extinction of this country, because it will lead to anarchy.
All right, let's go back to the front page of the Punch newspaper, Ms. Tinkotara, to look at the can protests that held across the country on Sunday. Churches in Abuja, in Kaduna, in Benue Plateau, Osun states are among the states that defied state government's ban on rallies in their domain to protest the recent killing of Deborah Yakubu. That one on the front page. You can see on the front page pictures of protesting members of the public, with placards bearing inscriptions like "Stop the killing, God is watching, let's be our brother's keeper, don't defend the indefendable or indefensible, let's live together in peace." Your thoughts on this? Some would have expected that there would have been an outpouring of protests around the country, at least in the majority Christian South. But we're not seeing that, and the Christian Association of Nigeria has had to call on Christians to protest yesterday.
You see, when I bent my, or should I say, when I upload my mind on this issue, most times people say, "Oh, you're becoming emotional." But the truth about it is that yes, we welcome the protest. I agree. We're protesting the murder, the death of Deborah, Christians all over. But it's not just about Christians. It has to do with humanity. That's what we should be talking about here. Even if they had done that to a Muslim, we would have protested. But the difference is that, one, you dare not do it to a Muslim because of the consequences. We are scared. I don't want to say Christians to a very large extent are cowards. I'm a Christian, and my name is even Christian. That alone will tell you I'm a Christian. I'm also a knight. But to a very large extent, Christians are cowards, and they hide under the issue of forgiveness, vengeance is mine, says the Lord, and all those kinds of words. But even in heaven, the Bible says, the kingdom of God suffers violence, and the violence taketh it by force. Until, look at what is happening with the court trial now. They must have threatened the judge, the magistrate, warned them never to sit. And on the day they were to hear that matter, the magistrate was not there. What do they call the so-called accused? They were nowhere to be found. This is what is good. They are going to employ this Fabian policy until 1 year, 2 years, and eventually nothing will happen. It was on this very program the last time I said, I blame Mr. President, and Mercy was saying, why will you have to blame the president? You have the governor, you have this, you have... No. This is something that has taken international dimension. Even in civilized crimes, where people are like Joyce Moore, they did not just allow the governor of that state to handle the matter. The president of the United States got involved. What I expected Mr. President to do, yes, I agree with the protest, but that is not enough. That will not suffice. What I expected Mr. President to do in actual fact was to order the Inspector General of Police to move in. And within seconds, first they must arrest those involved because they did not hide their faces. They must get them detained, arrest them, and the president must let the judge that he's interested in this matter. And once the president is interested in this matter, I tell you, expeditious hearing will be given to it. And the Nigerians, we are not saying go and kill them. If they wanted to kill those murderers, you tell me the court has not pronounced them, but I call them murderers. We go to court. If Kofi, you are not me today, and I say you're a thief, I'm showing you, I'll call you a thief. Let the court say you're not a thief. So you can say they are murderers until the court says otherwise. So let these murderers be detained. And because I would have opted for those same characters, honestly, I'm telling my God, because I've said it before, I would have preferred if they were killed immediately where they killed the brother. If they were killed, fine, they escaped. Let them be arrested, detained, and let the trial be open. To a very large extent, is going to count prisoners. To a very large extent. Because this protest will lead to nothing. You are protesting at the end of the day, these so-called characters are sitting down, so we are laughing at you. Tomorrow again, they commit another one, then you protest. The day after they commit, you protest. Your own is to protest. Theirs is to commit a crime. Who loses? Who suffers? Nothing. How many states in the country even went down? How many states? How many Christians in the states went down? You can count them. The girl has just died and died for her family. Nothing has come out of it. So my own solution to most of these problems, you kill one Christian, you kill one Muslim. That is it. I'm very sorry to say, you kill a Christian, you kill a Muslim. No, please. Yeah, like I said,
Mr. Secretary, are you saying, are you calling, yeah, just to understand what you're saying, Mr. Secretary, are you saying that, please, are you saying that people should take, just a question from you, sir, are you saying that Nigerians should take the law into their hands?
Okay, let me ask you a simple question.
I'm just asking, is that what you're saying, sir?
Kofi, let me ask you a simple question. When an armed robber invades your home, do you wait for the police to come? Or at that point, don't you take the law?
Yeah, so are you saying...
It's not defense.
No, Mr. Secretary, are you condemning killing, and assassination, murder of innocent people in its entirety? Or are you saying that when one wrong is committed by whoever, maybe Muslims kill a Christian, that Christians should go carry stones and go and stone a Muslim anywhere? Anywhere.
Okay, Kofi, let me make this clarification.
I just want to be sure.
Let me make this clarification. I get the gist of your question. Very soon we won't have time. So let me make this clarification. Kofi, wait, I get the gist of your question. Let me make this clarification. The point I'm making is simple. I'm not saying go and kill Muslims. Or if a Christian is killed by a Muslim is killed by a Christian, go and kill Christians. No. That person that committed that crime should be killed. That's the point I'm making.
By the law. By the law.
Not that you should go and kill the whole Muslims, you go and kill the whole people. You know what I'm saying this?
So are you saying that it should be done extrajudicially?
We live in a country where the rule of law is changed and administration of justice roundly subverted. You cannot look in this matter. You can hardly get justice. We don't believe
I would like to believe you're not saying just for clarity's sake, Mr. Secretary.
Look at you can hear an imam, you can hear an Abuja imam justifying the killing.
So I want to be sure, I want to be sure that you're not asking for more extrajudicial killings. I want to be sure that you're not asking for more extrajudicial killings. That you're saying that yes, you want whoever is guilty of this killing, committed the crime, to be given the death penalty within a legal process, not extrajudicial killing. Am I correct, sir?
Now listen to me now, please. I am the one talking. Excuse me. Listen,
I just want to understand you. Yeah.
The clarity of what I'm saying to penetrate your mind and love the catch of the. Excuse me. Now you have the magistrate not sitting. He must have been threatened. This other person is not taking the court. This matter will be adjourned and adjourned and adjourned, and justice will not be served. You have a professor of law leading 34 other lawyers to defend this gruesome murder.
Okay.
You have an imam, Abuja imam, justifying it. Blasphemy is a sin against God.
So are you advocating? I just want to be sure, Opunabo Gutare, just to be sure. Are you advocating for? Yeah, Opunabo Gutare, I just want to be sure, sir. Yeah, just to be sure. Are you advocating for extrajudicial action? Is that what you're advocating for?
In a situation like this, and you
Because
subject it to court judicial process.
Opunabo Gutare.
Let us also carry out that jungle.
Opunabo Gutare.
Okay, all right. So now we understand that you are asking for jungle justice. We would like to inform you, Mr. Gutare, that we would usually use our platform to promote, actions that are carried out within the ambit of a law, and we won't want to encourage the public to embark on any action outside the law, any extrajudicial action. You would agree with me, Mr. Gutare, that we're trying to reduce the increasing spate of extrajudicial, I won't even call it extrajudicial or jungle justice, because there's no justice there, of mob attacks and lynching. And I believe that you as a Christian do not believe in an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I also believe that you don't believe in two wrongs making a right. So we're trying to reduce the incidences of lynchings in the country, and we'll always preach that people should allow the law take its course. I think you agree with me, Mr. Gutare, if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm with you. Completely, I'm fully with you.
Yes. So we wouldn't want people to listen to our conversation this morning and be incited to go, attack anybody, because they can say, well, I can't go to Sokoto, but I know Mustafa who lives on Ligari or in Oniru, let me go and kill him. We don't want to have that. So I believe that that's not what you're saying, sir, and that you would like to see people act within the ambits of the law, not lynch.
Yes, I believe in tit for tat. Yeah, you know why most times a lot of people get to the extreme. You see, in as much as I completely agree with what you have just said, your position, but the whole essence of this is to bring some level of awareness and also educate the masses and including the government. You know why a lot of people get to the extreme? Because they have lost confidence in our judicial system. That's the truth about it. They have lost confidence in our judicial system. At the end of the day, these characters will get 6 months imprisonment. Is that enough without penance? Nothing can penance. Nothing can bring back the life. But there is some level of sentence you give that will prevail as a pacify this person.
So are you calling on government? Are you calling on government?
The magistrate not.
We need to move away from this.
Are you calling on the government to give the maximum? Are you calling on government to give the maximum penalty?
To create a serious crisis in this country if it is not addressed.
All right.
So
we have to move on to the
I
next
call on
one.
Mr. President. If Mr. President went into this matter, we are going to step up all this crisis we are talking about.
All right. So Mr. Gutare, I believe that Mr. Gutare, sorry to interrupt you, but I believe that you understand. Opunabo Gutare, please.
It happens in this country.
Mr. Gutare, I believe you understand the importance of the media and the role that we have and the impact that we can have on our society. And I believe that you wouldn't want to see the situation get worse, because if we have reprisal attacks and if we have reprisal killings, then it's going to descend into a civil war. And I know that you wouldn't want to see that because you always preach against that. So what we are calling on is for people to stay back and allow the law take its course. But I believe that you are saying that those who have committed the crime must pay for it. with the maximum and the full force of the law, and no one must be let off loose. I believe that's what we're saying. So we move on to the next headline. Let's move on.
So just before we call it a wrap this morning on The Breakfast, on the paper review, let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune. It talks about the APC again abort screening of presidential aspirant. What are your thoughts on this?
The APC is a confused political party. Every day they met in one crisis or the other, always flouting the morass of procedure, policies, issues, and what have you. It is so sad, because what I cannot understand is, why will you call for extension of the primary deadline? Why will you abort screening? What is the problem? What is the problem? I never gave you a deadline a year before. You should be prepared. Even if the aspirants are 100, you should be prepared. After all, the party is the party benefiting because they pay 100 million naira. Presidential will pay 100 million naira. So if you have 100 persons, it is times how many? I've said it before, I don't know mathematics. So do the calculation. Kofi could help us, because next I also heard that you're not good in maths. So let's Kofi help with the calculation. That's on the lighter note.
You might not be mistaken about me, because my father was a maths.
Sorry?
Yeah, go on, Upudawa, go on.
Okay. No, like I said, that's on the lighter note. But having said this, the fact is, I don't think the APC is actually ready. What the APC wants is to force itself using the advantage of having a sitting president and force itself on the country. I don't think the APC is ready. It's how the picture, the schism is so wide. And after the primaries, I tell you, a lot more will happen. The division will be worse than it is right now. Because some will even leave the party, some will play anti-party, and so on. So it's a body of confused politicians. That is the problem the APC is having right now. That's just the truth. Why are you extending the date for the screening of a president? Or what is the reason? And what if you have a reason? What if you have if you give a reason, then how do you justify it? What's justification for that?
But let's also look at, I'm just quickly, as we call it a wrap this morning, I mean, as we move away from the paper review, you have a writer saying that Umahi, Okorocha, and others are asking that the party concedes the presidential ticket to the Southeast. How can these things be, or how can this thing be?
That is a fleeting illusion. For now, that is a fleeting illusion. If you take on the advisement, what is going on right now in the country. I mean, yes, that ordinarily would have been the proper thing, because the Southeast have not produced. A level like that is going to placate them, is going to pacify the Southeast. No doubt about that. But those in authorities, are they going to agree? They are also going to be scared that if they give it to the Southeast, then what there could be, other countries could be, I don't want to say, face certain consequences. Kofi has told me not to divide the nation, so I want to choose my words. But having said that, I don't think it's going to be given to the Southeast. I have my doubts that it's going to be zoned to the Southeast. They will just tell you South. And if the Southeast can get it, fine. But there will also be a conspiracy against the Southeast. Yes, this I can tell you. Because of the agitation from the Southeast. I don't want to go further so that Kofi does not accuse me of trying to divide the nation. Kofi, I hope you are satisfied with this one now. So
you're doing very well. You're doing very well.
Are you okay now?
You're doing very well.
But they will not want to give it to the Southeast. They will not want to give it to the Southeast. That's the truth about it, because of the agitation from the South.
All right.
So they will not want to give it to the South.
All right.
So it should come to the South, but not the Southeast.
Okay.
I can tell you that.
Okay, Ms. Senkotaro, we have to go. Thank you for understanding with us, and for doing your best, to unite the nation. Probably, deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. But we'll be looking forward. We'll be looking forward to having you again on the breakfast. And thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Well, that's the size of it. We'll definitely return tomorrow with the press, off the press. I mean, taking you through the pages for National Daily's front pages to be precise, and also having a guest share his thoughts on the issue. Great analysis coming your way But we'll step on the brakes. When we return, it will be time for us to look at a major conversation. But before then, let's tell you what happened today in history. Stay with us.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
How can we have peace
without justice.
Plus politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. Relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Welcome back. The People's Democratic Party on Sunday, May 22, kicked off its primary elections for the 2023 general election. The party had in a statement by its national organizing secretary, Mr. Umar Bature, on Saturday night in Abuja, said its primary elections to nominate candidates for the 2023 general elections will commence as officially scheduled. The party had said for the avoidance of doubt, the State House of Assembly primaries to elect candidates would hold on Sunday, May 22, along with the House of Representatives primaries, while the senatorial primary would hold on Monday, May 23, being today. This after some rumors that the party had postponed its earlier scheduled primaries. Now, these, however, did not hold without controversy in parts of some states. One of such is Lagos, where the state chapter of the party had urged its National Working Committee to cancel the House of Assembly and House of Representatives primaries. The chairman of the PDP in Lagos State, Phillips Ivoji, addressing a news conference along with other state executives of the party, governorship aspirants and party leaders in Ikeja, claimed that the ad hoc delegates list brought by the electoral committees for both primaries had been compromised. In Niger State, some persons sustained injuries at Lemu, the headquarters of Bako local government area. In Ogun State, confusion, delay, and alleged kidnapping of delegates dogged the exercise. The primaries of the State House of Assembly and House of Representatives elections could not hold in the centers designated for the 5 legislative seats over alleged security threat. Now, in Akwa Ibom State, a federal lawmaker, Emmanuel Ukpong Udo, refused to take part in Sunday's National Assembly primary, citing an existing court order in a case against the Akwa Ibom PDP at a federal high court in Abuja. In Delta State, gunmen numbering over 10 invaded the Anglican Girls Grammar School, Ozoro, in Isoko North local government area, a venue of the PDP House of Assembly primary. Now, we don't have time to exhaust the reports of controversy surrounding the PDP primary, so let's, at this point, welcome our guest on the breakfast this morning, Diro Odemi, as a former Deputy Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Mr. Odemi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm happy to be with you this morning.
What's your assessment and your verdict of the exercise, the primaries for the State House of Assembly and House of Representatives of the PDP that held yesterday across the country?
Yes, we are aware of some teething problems here and there, and we are aware of the crisis here and there, but they are not unexpected in a setting, in any political context, where 2 or 3 people are aspiring for a position. But that is not to say that as a political party, we will not manage it. We will still come out unscathed and we will resolve whatever is the crisis. But by and large, it was successful in most states. If we have 36 states where we are taking this election, and we are able to record success in over 2/3 of the states, I think it should give us the credibility of organizing ourselves.
But let's also, let's delve to Edo State, where the report says that, the PDP in Edo State is divided, as it seems to have conducted a parallel primaries. Looking at, the opposition, the PDP is an opposition party. One would think that, the party should put her acts together. At this point in time, it's not the time where you begin to experience parallel primaries.
I've just said it. Politics is not always a peaceful environment. Even in churches where you believe sanity should be, there are still some crises, and this is politics. And the Edo State situation is quite critical in the sense that you will agree or you will understand that the governor came to join PDP at the late hour of the election. And all the PDP members he met on ground, even though they accepted him and, they cooperated with him, but he came with his own team from APC, which more or less is creating a kind of a crisis. But the party is aware, and it is one of the few states that the party has set up series of reconciliation committee to look into the issue and ensure that we do not lose that state, either the assembly or rep or the senate. So it's a crisis, we agree. But what makes a party tick, or how to know a party that is well organized, is how they are able to resolve the crisis. So it's not beyond its redemption. We will resolve it at the appropriate time. We are aware of the crisis.
All right, you've talked about Edo State. Let's go to Lagos State, and I'm sure you're aware, and you heard also from the introduction that we gave, that the party chairman of the state held a press conference, something as big as a press conference, calling for the primaries to be moved forward. Of course, they weren't, and they held. He was talking about a certain delegates list, and was complaining about the delegates list, the ad hoc delegates list. He said it was brought by electoral committees for both primaries, and he's claiming that the delegates list had been compromised, but they still went ahead to hold.
The party has a procedure. We expect all these things to happen. But the party has a procedure, in its electioneering process. This is that after every election, there is always an appeal committee that will be set up to look into whatever issues is being contested, about by the opponent. So what's going to happen in this case is that the appeal committee will look into this issue. If indeed the list of delegates sent to Lagos are the authentic one, or they are, doctored, as soon as the appeal committee will take a decision and write their recommendation to the NWC, and it doesn't end there. The NWC will still subject their decision to the National Working to the what we regard as the supreme body, which is the NEC, National Executive Council. So the decision of the National Executive Council that will be the last to resolve these things. So it's a process. If they are complaining about the doctored list, yeah, it's normal. But the appeal committee will look into it. That is why PDP is organized.
All right. In Akwa Ibom State, a lawmaker is claiming he has an order of court, or there's a case before the Federal High Court in Abuja, and he is saying that he won't take part he refused to take part in the National Assembly primaries on Sunday, the House of Representatives primary, citing that court order against the Akwa Ibom PDP. We're going to be seeing something there, probably the party missing out on the election, at least for the House of Representatives election in 2023, if this is true.
The PDP respects the court, and we always respect the decision or the judgment of the courts. And that is why we have a senior advocate of Nigeria as a legal advisor. Whatever situation or all legal matters are brought before him, and he will advise the party on the next step to take. So if indeed there is a court judgment somewhere, I'm sure the legal advisor will give appropriate advice to the party on what next to do. So it's no problem at all. We are not seeing it as a problem. But one thing I can assure you is that PDP as a political party will not disobey any court judgment.
But it seems the party has not been able to move on from its past of seeming lack of internal democracy, lack of transparency. You know, with what's happening in Lagos State, for instance, the party chairman, Ivoji, said, and I quote, "We're all shocked to see that the lists do not reflect the authentic elected ad hoc delegates as conducted by the organs of the party at the ward level and supervised by the DSS and INEC." You know, what he said is that copies of the ad hoc list that emanated from the state and were submitted to INEC are completely different from the one brought by the committee for the purpose of the exercise. How on earth, dear Odemi, can that happen?
You see, what you are telling me now is a complaint. Let me summarize everything as a complaint. Let me summarize everything as what the chairman feels is not the right thing to have been done. But what I'm now telling you is that as a political party, we will look into every complaint and we will do what is right to ensure that justice and fairness, operates within the
what I'm asking is what could possibly, dear Odemi, what I'm asking is what could possibly,
a competent committee of the appeal will be set up. In fact, it has already been set up. So
but dear Odemi, we've heard, sorry to interrupt you, sir, but we've heard this.
So whatever injustice has been carried out yesterday, it will be redressed.
But dear Odemi, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've heard, yes,
by PDP.
We've heard this line over and over again. You know, it's the usual line from you politicians that we have a party procedure, we have a party process, and we have an appeals committee that will be set up and everything will be looked into. But that most times never happens. You know, the will of those who are behind some of these things prevails at the end of the day. So I'm asking you, how is it that the list, the ad hoc list submitted by the party of the ad hoc delegates to INEC, from a primary at the ward level supervised by INEC and DSS, that list was not brought. It was a different list that was brought to Lagos State. How is that possible?
See, you are breaking up. I hardly had that question. Can you repeat it or summarize it briefly, please?
All right. Can you hear me now, sir?
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me now, sir? All right, we'll try and get that sorted out. Dear Odemi, can you hear me, please? Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
I'm saying that most times this excuse or this reply you're giving me, which is that you have a party procedure and appeals and all that the complaints will be looked into. From my experience, it always ends up as medicine after death and never yields the desired result. So the party chairman in Lagos State, your party member, is saying that after they conducted the exercises at the ward level as supervised by INEC and the DSS, they handed over the ad hoc list to INEC, that the list that was brought from Abuja by the by the committee, the screening committee, by the supervising committee, it's different from what they submitted to INEC. And I'm asking, how does that happen?
I want to believe the INEC is an unbiased umpire in this situation. And I am telling you that there is no decision taken yesterday that cannot be overturned by the NWC. It's not the end of everything and it's never the final. And I've just told you a process now that after the appeal, it comes to the National Executive Council. So the National Executive Council are very dispassionate about whatever we do in the party, because they don't want a situation whereby a winner will emerge after the general election, and through the court judgment or through the court process, such candidate is nullified and given to our opponent, the APC. So we wouldn't want that. That is why we always maintain that clear record. So whatever decision was taken yesterday, if it is not in line with fairness, justice, and what is expected of a normal electoral process, it will be upturned by the party. So it's not the final and it's never the end. And for the mere fact that it was witnessed by INEC and the security agencies, it shows that there are witnesses. It shows that it is rigging that could not go far. So the party will look into it and we address it. I give you my word on that, and I'm assuring you.
Can we also, look at this or the conversation surrounding the primaries, that has already started. Now, do you think that the PDP would factor what the people want? We understand that at the primary levels, at the primary level, it's within the power of the party and the delegate, to decide who becomes the flag bearer. But you also have, on the other hand, the people saying that we're looking out for specific candidates, and if this candidate do not emerge as a flag bearer, the chances of having the PDP back in 2023 is very slim. So do you think that, your party is also factoring, or is your party considering, the thoughts of the people, what the people want? Because the elections is going to move away from, just the party and to individuals.
What you have just said is one of the strategies the PDP has adopted. We know we have been out of government and out of power for quite some years now. And our ultimate aim and intention is to go back to that government. We want to assure Nigerians that giving us another opportunity, we will do what is right in terms of governance. And as a result, we are listening to them. We are reading their lips, and we have a committee already that is doing that. And that is why the party has found it difficult to zone the presidency to a particular area, because we are listening to Nigerians and we want to know what they want, so that what they want is what we are going to give them. It's part of our strategy, and it is something we just have to take seriously to win 2023 election. So right now, we are aware, and the people we are giving the power to elect the president or the flag bearer of our party are quite aware of the fact that we need to select the best candidate, so that at the end of the day, the job of electioneering and the campaign will be made very easy. So we are listening, and we are studying the situation.
But this is not just limited to the primaries for the presidential candidates. Selecting who becomes the flag bearer for the party at the presidential level. We're talking about, the different positions across, from the State House of Assembly, amongst others.
Yeah, it's the same answer that I will give you. We have experiences in the past. There was what happened, something like this happened in Ondo State in the past, where we have Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, who left PDP to contest an election under Labour Party. And he won because of his personality and credibility, which the people in Ondo State believed in. And it was much after that, after winning that election, that he came back to PDP. So it's not a new situation to us. We are aware of it. And that is why we are careful in selecting who will fly the flag of the party, both at the state assembly, at the rep level, and at the senate level, and up to the presidential. So we are quite aware of this, and that is why if you have a questionable character, if you don't have that credibility, of course the delegates are not going to vote for you. So we know, because our power is limited, we can only select the candidate. The ultimate power belongs to the electorate, who are going to ensure that they do justice with their voters' card.
All right. Dero, before you go, what's the update with the situation in Rivers State? I'm sure you're very aware of the arrest and detention of Farah Dagogo, governorship aspirant, who is also a serving member of the House of Representatives?
For the mere fact that he is a serving House of Representative member and it is not being subjected to debate on the floor of the House, shows that what is happening in Rivers State is pure judicial or police matter. So we would rather allow whatever is the accusation, for him to defend himself, rather than dabble into it and say, yeah, because it is Rivers State or because we have a presidential candidate or aspirant from there, we have to subject it to a public debate. No. It is a criminal matter that is being handled by the judiciary. So don't let us comment.
It could be argued that it is a political matter that is trying to be turned into a criminal matter, and the party needs to do something about this so that it does not suffer at the end of the day.
When a matter is before the judiciary, when a matter is between the court, it is beyond the political party to dabble into or to talk about. But that is not to say that underneath or behind the scene, the party is not talking about it. We are, but it will be resolved. I can assure you of that.
All right. Thank you very much for your time and for your expert analysis. Former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Diro Demi, has joined us on the first segment for our discussion this morning. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Interesting. Today is International Day to End Obstetric Fistula. When we return from our break, we speak to a guest as we look at the importance of this day. Please stay with us.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshuke.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. Right, no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild.
This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity. No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event
on Plus TV. Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
This is a breakfast on Plus TV Africa. We head straight to a second conversation where we look at the International Day to End Obstetric Fistula. We have a guest, Mercy Agbo, who joins the conversation. She's a team lead, Fistula Care Initiative Lagos chapter. Mercy, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you.
All right. Let's get straight to it. We understand that, 2020 actually marked the countdown to ending obstetric fistula by 2030, and that's the plan according to the report being made available by the Secretary General of the United Nations. But before we get to the conversation, what is obstetric fistula?
Okay, so obstetric fistula is an abnormal opening connecting the vagina to the urinary bladder or the rectum. So it's an opening that makes a woman to urine comes out from the vagina instead of the normal way. And then sometimes we also have rectal vaginal fistula, where feces comes out from the vagina instead of the anus. So it's caused by several factors. We have the physical factors, and then we have the social, cultural factors. So the physical factors include improper use of obstetric instruments, like when a woman is in labor, or all those orthodox midwives, where when a woman is in labor, the instruments that are used during labor, those things can cause fistula because it can create a wound on the pelvis, and if it is not treated, it can make that place to be rotten, and before you know it, there will be an opening there. Then we also have obstructed labor, when a woman is in labor for too long, and probably the head of the child will press onto the pelvis, making the pelvis to be soft. The membrane will get weak, and that can lead to an opening. Then we also have cases of abortion or other kind of surgeries that affect the vagina. Then we have the sociocultural factors, definitely poverty, where persons who cannot afford medical health care can go to orthodox midwives and they'll be treated that way. So those are the various causes of fistula.
Well, very, very important topic to look at, and very great to give this a kind of awareness to the people out there, because hearing you talk about it, it's really worrying. Is this, prevalent? Is it rampant in our society in Nigeria? Do you have quite a number of people coming down with this?
Yes, it is. So apart from the north, where of course there are cases where there are early marriages and all of that, we also have cases here in Lagos. So like the Fistula Care Initiative, we have 2 cases currently that we are attending to here in Lagos State. So due to the fact that it's not just, initially we had the case of, okay, fistula can be caused by early marriages, so our focus was on the north. But right now we've realized that there are other cases, just like I mentioned, the obstructed labor. So those cases, that forms like 90% of the cases we have here in the south. And it's also rampant in other areas in Nigeria.
What are the dangers, of having such an ailment, fistula? Is it terminal disease, for instance? If untreated, does it lead to death? Does it affect childbearing, conception?
Yes, it does. So if it is not cared for, because you have urinary incontinence, that is the case of vesical vaginal fistula.
What is urinary incontinence? So those who do not know, take it easy on us.
Okay. So urinary incontinence is you can't control your urine. So it just comes out, you move on the road, you're sleeping, and you just pass out urine. So those cases, if it's not treated, for persons who don't have a proper hygiene, it can lead to urinary tract infections. And those infections can also lead to problems during childbirth, or it can even lead to miscarriages, where the womb will not be able to carry a child for so long. So those are a lot of the cases if it's untreated early. So it is not basically a terminal disease, because there's a surgical repairs for those who have the fistula care. So that is why we have some NGOs, just like us, that cater for surgical repairs like that before it gets worse.
Okay, so let's get to, who can actually be affected by this, because also reports will say that it's expected that 13 million more children or child would actually get married by 2030 due to the fact that, families want to find a way to, take away the burden of poverty caused by different factors. So who is suitable? Who's subtle to having this crisis or situation?
Well, I can't say anybody is, because as long as you're a woman, there's a danger for you to have it. It's just for you to be careful. So initially,
would it be more prevalent in children?
Yes, for children who maybe get married early, so they may have more danger in having this fistula, because apart from the fact that they may have to have childbearing early, they would be introduced to sexual intercourse early, and that is another way of getting fistula.
So you talked about the treatment, the repair, if you want to talk about this injury. You mentioned surgery.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. What are the ways to repair this injury?
Well, just like I said, it's surgery. So the only way
basically surgery.
Yes, that's basically the only way, because the tear, it's an opening, so it has to be fixed. Yes. And
what are the chances? What's the success rate? For those who are able to undergo this surgery to repair the fistula, do we have a high, chance of coming out okay?
Yes. So far we've recorded like 90% chances of coming out okay. So it's just just as we said, we need to equip the medical sector, the health sector, so that the facilities will be proper, because sometimes you see few cases of people going for surgical repairs for fistula, and they end up with a bigger wound due to the fact that their facilities are not up to standard. But so far we've recorded like 90%.
Jesus, that's really, really sad if anyone is meant to go for surgical repair and they have something worse. That's really sad. But you talked about early treatment. I heard you mention early treatment.
Yes.
Is there an early stage where one can detect? You know, when we talk about breast cancer, we hear early detection. Is there a stage, an early stage where one can detect to be able to embark on that early treatment? And if so, are there any signs to look out for?
Yes, the signs are so glaring because, just as I said, urinary incontinence, it won't hide. So you may be sleeping on your bed and you wake up with urine everywhere, and you may think, oh, maybe I just bed wet. But when you're moving, you see that maybe you're stained or you're wet or something. So the signs are there from the beginning. So the only problem we have is that a lot of people cannot pay for this surgery. So before they can get to somewhere, because we have some centers in Nigeria that undergo free surgical repairs. So before they can, reach out to those people and all of that, and a lot of people fall into depression. So basically within that time, there are a lot of speculations, and because some people don't even know about fistula, so they may term it as being spiritual.
Oh, really?
Yes. So before
spiritual how? I mean, is it an attack from the village people or something like that?
So one of the current cases we have, the lady is into depression right now, and she has termed it to be spiritual. So it was after some series of tests, and even after she was diagnosed of having fistula, she couldn't still believe it because, it's a bit rare in the South. So it's one of the things we preach, that if there are a lot of people, like, you can reach out to them, people who have the same case, you can reach out to them and know that you're not the only one with that disease. So basically within that time, from feeling depressed and trying to look for money for surgical repairs, so it may take a lot of, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so apart from the fact that one of the symptoms that you have mentioned is that you have urinary inconsistency, what are the symptoms should one look out for?
You may have fever and other symptoms of an infection, but the main cause, sometimes some people don't even have other symptoms. They just have the urinary incontinence. Some people usually have difficulty passing out urine by themselves, or those who have the rectal vaginal fistula, they have difficulties passing out feces. So those are the early signs.
You talked about the cost of treatment. It sounds from what you're saying it's quite expensive. What's the average cost of this, the surgical repair in Nigeria?
Basically, we have 400,000 naira. But it doesn't include the tests because you have to undergo a series of tests before the surgery.
So if you want to include the tests, on an average, how much will everything cost?
About 500, 600.
About 600,000 naira. That's a lot for a lot of people in this part of the world. So you've talked about the challenges and what the authorities, government, and indeed society can do. Number one, providing avenues for affordable or even free surgery and tests, I believe.
Yes.
And I also heard you mention equipment to be able to have the surgery carried out professionally and properly. Have you, apart from the non-governmental organizations who are working in this space, are there government, either state government, local government, or federal government programs addressing fistula that you are aware of?
Well, I was aware of one in Akwa Ibom State. That was sometime in 2019, where the First Lady of Akwa Ibom State organized some kind of outreach for women generally, and it also included fistula. And then there are some other, health centers. Sometime last year, the Lagos State government made a recommendation that government hospitals should carry out free surgical repairs for fistula patients. So there are others, but it's a gradual process.
For those who are listening this morning who may have such an ailment, I think the important thing is that they're getting to hear from you that this is not spiritual. It's not rare. It's not something they should hide, and feel it's just them. It happens to people. There's an explanation to this, all right, and that they can get help.
Sure.
Is there a number to call, for instance, your organization or other organizations or government helpline? What can they do once they discover this is a problem I need to solve?
Okay, so basically when you go online, you see international or government organizations or NGOs that care for fistula patients. So we are the Fistula Care Initiative. We're on Instagram, just the name. And we have numbers to call. For the Lagos chapter, we have the head of the Lagos chapter.
Okay.
So when you go to the Instagram page, you can get that, or you can just call 081-3738-2200.
Once again?
081-3738-2200.
All right. So on Instagram, it's called Fistula Care Initiative.
Yeah.
All right. It's a very important conversation we've had, Mercy. Really, scary, what some women would have to go through. And she said the leading cause, one of the causes would be early marriage or early exposure to sexual activity at a young age.
And that's what
it's worrying,
And that's why the statistics that has been put out that you have about 1.3 million children going to be married off by 2030. Cause for a lot of concern. I wish that, and I'm also hoping that this would not be in vain, because it's a campaign to actually end, this fistula concern. Thank you once again, Mercy Abo, for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Well, from one Mercy to another Mercy, you're both wearing red.
What
I don't know if you planned it today.
No,
and you both,
I'm not even. I don't even know
fair
about
complexion. All right. Anyway, 2 for the price of 1, you may say. Mercy, it's been a thrill this morning on the breakfast. Interesting conversations, and of course, ending on a good note with some awareness on something that's really important for the public to know about, so that we can take action to save lives.
And that's it. Many thanks for being part of the breakfast, and thank you so much, Mercy Abo, for being part of the show as well. We hope that you seek all of the help that you can get. Reach out. The internet is available with all of this information, and we hope that everyone, all hands would be on deck, so we can put an end to all of this. And that's the size of our conversation on the breakfast. If you missed out on any part of it, it's all right to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Mercy Boko. We return tomorrow. Good morning.
My name is Kofi Bertels. Thanks for joining us.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation, as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better? Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions. Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Everyone talks about getting their dream jobs, but what does it take to get that dream job? In a religious society like Nigeria, some people resort to prayer, but did you know that sometimes the only reason you're not getting the job isn't because you don't have the credentials? Many times about how well you can defend your credentials through your presentation and communication skills during the interview. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the rate of unemployment in Nigeria rose to 33.3% in December 2020 from a 27.1% in 3 months. Interview phobia is a major issue that contributes to unemployment in the country. Some individuals are employable but don't know how to express themselves properly, present their resumes, and network effectively. An expert spoke to us about interview phobia and how it has increased the rate of unemployment within the country. Okay, so I mentioned I struggled. I went to Lagos State University, a public university. Nobody taught you any of these things. And so I thought that if I come to the interview space, I would do well because I know I'm good enough. But coming in, it was difficult. I got plenty of rejections, and I made up my mind that if you can get past this thing, you would help other people who are also like you. And so sitting down in that space, I also see people like me, and I feel for them. According to Student Graduate Report, more than 50% of graduates in Nigeria disclose that communication skill is the least skill their academic education prepared them with.
Like we have a compulsory NYSC every year. I believe the government or the educational sector should do something like when they know somebody's in their final year, maybe they allow them go through a month or so, or they introduce a course and make it mandatory for them to be able to go out there and face the outside world when it comes to interviews, when it comes to networking and all of that. I've seen super amazing, intelligent people lost opportunities because they were not confident, and those who were not so smart but have built their confidence are able to get the job and get these networks and get these opportunities. Especially when you come from a Yoruba or Igbo family where you don't have to look at your dad in the eye. You get that kind of thing. So you have to learn to look at people in the eye when you talk to them. It makes them believe that you're not up to something. You're not hiding anything in your cupboard.
We're going to school or having to attend different schools, all right? They just teach us, we only have syllabus on what they've been doing so far in past years, and there's no trend of bringing in new things.
So the next time you complain about not getting a job, think about how well your CV is prepared. Assess your communication skills during the interview and think about how well you presented yourself.
Good morning, I am Messia Bukpo. This is the news brief. The screening exercise for presidential aspirant of the All Progressive Congress, APC, earlier scheduled to be held on Monday, May 23, 2022, has now been postponed. A statement released to the media by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Felix Muker, states that a new date for the exercise will be announced. Senate President Ahmed Lawan is confident that if he can govern Nigeria, if he becomes the country's president. He was speaking in Kano during his national consultation visit at the All Progressive Congress APC presidential primaries. Plus TV News correspondent Stephen Enoch completes the report.
In furtherance of his presidential ambition, Senate President and All Progressives Congress presidential hopeful Ahmed Lawan is in Kano to woo delegates of the APC ahead of the party's primaries. The Senate President says he has gathered the necessary experience he needs to govern the country as he is working closely with President Buhari.
And I've worked very closely with Mr. President, our amiable President, President Muhammadu Buhari, for the last 3 years, working with him very closely on governance, on how to deliver services to our country. Therefore, I know what governance is at the national level, the federal government. Having served for 23 years, and by the grace of God, to serve for 24 years by June next year, I would have known sufficiently how the legislature works and how the legislature and the executive can deliver services to our citizens. So I have experiences on both sides.
He is certain that the pendulum will swing to his side during the primaries, promising delegates.
My brothers and sisters, distinguished delegates, I promise you that when eventually we discuss and find common ground with His Excellency and vote for me, you will forever be pleased with the way and manner I will lead this country.
Mr. Lawan also discredits reports that the APC in Kano is in disarray.
No amount of propaganda will convince or confuse anyone that Kano is shaking at all. APC in Kano is steady, solid, like a rock. Come 2023, by the grace of God, we'll have an APC governor and his deputy. All our 3 senators will be APC. All the 24 members of the House of Representatives will be APC.
On his part, Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje assures the Senate President of Kano's support ahead of the primaries.
Your Excellency, we assure you of our full cooperation. Kano State is a swing state in the presidential primaries, even in the presidential election. And Kano State will swing when it is time to swing. Thank you and God bless.
Stephen Enoch, Plus TV News, Kano. In furtherance of his presidential ambition,
the governor of Ekiti State, Kade Fayemi, says Nigerians will not regret giving him the opportunity to govern the country. The former minister was speaking when he addressed Benue, delegate of the All Progressive Congress APC, on his presidential ambition. He is convinced he has the capacity to improve human condition and make a fundamental difference in the country, while promising to address extreme inequality and poverty, among others, which he identified as the cause of the present insecurity in the country.
Nigeria doesn't require all those old people to continue, because we have been applying solutions to our problems we will not be able to get. Then why can't we bring people with fresh ideas, people that are very educated, people that have been exposed to governance at all levels? at state and national levels. People who understand the actual problems of this country, and their ideas are also revolutionary. They can turn around things. The younger people think faster. They think faster like people like me. If you sit down with a young man, if he carries this equipment, you won't know what he can do with it. He can easily get solution to most of the problems that you may present to him. And those are the type of people that we need. Digital leaders.
Have the assurance that Benue is with you, because in their solemn moments, you will be with them. You have shown them love, you have shown them friendship, you have shown them all. One good turns deserve another.
I am here with every sense of humility to sell myself to you as a bridge builder, as a unifier, as somebody with capacity, competence, commitment to this party, and compassion for our people. Somebody who understands where the shoe pinches, and who believes that if you give me this opportunity, you will not have any cause to regret your decision. Because ultimately, I shall work for you. I shall do everything within my God-given power. I shall do the work 24/7, toiling hard to improve the human condition in our country and to make a fundamental difference in the lives of our people.
The primary election for House of Representatives of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Lagos State did not hold, and some local government delegates and party members were seen loitering around the whole day at the Adelubar Street, Marshall venue of the exercise, anticipating the event to commence, but to no avail. The hall was virtually empty, with only a handful of people seated. Efforts to speak with some of the contestants proved abortive as they carefully avoided our cameras. Love Ikuko Yedokun reports that after 12 hours of waiting, the chairman of Ward F, Honorable Jamiu, told everyone present that the primary election has been postponed. He said a new date will be communicated later. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Imo State says it has suspended its primaries for the House of Assembly and House of Representatives indefinitely over the unreconciled delegates list. A statement by the legal advisor of the party in the state, Kasina Ikoku, attributed the non-conduct of the primaries to the confusion caused by the National Assembly. Ikoku explained that Imo would not vote along with other states who were now voting with the 3-man and 1-man national delegate. He urged party faithfuls to ignore fifth columnist's writings about crisis within the party. According to him, there's no crisis as the leadership of the party at all levels are working together to make sure an ad hoc delegate are cleared to vote at our primaries on a later date to be announced. In Edo State, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, joined its counterpart across the country to conduct primaries to elect candidates for the State House Assembly as well as the House of Representatives. However, parallel primaries were held by 2 factions in the state simultaneously at different locations across the state. From the faction loyal to the Governor Godwin Obaseki, only those who defected with him from the APC to the PDP had to continue to emerge as winners. Similarly, from the camp loyal to Chief Dan Oribio, National Vice Chairman South of the People's Democratic Party, only the old PDP members emerged winners. Officials from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, monitored by the primaries by the faction loyal to the party's National Vice Chairman South, but the same could not be said about the faction loyal to the governor. A chieftain of the Peace Party who spoke on the condition of confidentiality explained that the primaries were not parallel. Similarly, Mr. Deze Mwatan, Edo Commissioner for Information, while commenting from the governor's faction dismissed report of parallel primaries. Meanwhile, Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State believes insecurity in the southeast is politically motivated, but ruled out foreigners as the mastermind. The governor's comment came on the heels of rising insecurity in the region, with Anambra lawmaker Okechukwu Okoye being one of the latest casualties. But for how President Muhammadu Buhari handled the challenge, he said the spate of insecurity could have been worse in Nigeria and the southeast specifically. Nobel laureate Professor Wale Soyinka has called for the sack of the Imam of Abuja National Mosque, Professor Ibrahim Makwari, for justifying the killing of Deborah Samuel by Islamic fanatics. Soyinka accused Islamic clerics of inciting his followers to take the laws into their hands in the name of religion. The renowned author lamented the rising cases of lynching of people in the name of religion, calling for the end of such in the country. As reaction continued to trail the mother of Shehu Shagari College of Education student Deborah Samuel over alleged blasphemy, a group, Muslim United for Peace and Justice, has called for swift and transparent justice against her killers. The group says the tragic event of the murder of Deborah can be utilized as a turning point in Muslim-Christian relation and herald a new era of peaceful and respectful coexistence. Professor Lakin Akintola of the Muslim Rights Concern, Murik, who lent his voice to the call, urged leaders of the faithful to continue to enlighten and educate adherents to the need for mutual respect, to focus on messages of love, work against voice of hatred and extremism among them. The group also urged state government to strengthen or prolong laws to criminalize blasphemy and killings for blasphemy outside the law, and faithfuls enforce them.
We urge Muslim scholars to issue fatwa specifically against frontier justice, jungle justice, and extrajudicial killing at any time. More so, we appeal to imams to use the Friday khutbah to spread and promote the peaceful coexistence, respect for constituted authority, and rule of law as enjoined in Islam. 7, we lament the poor state of the judicial system in Nigeria and call for improvement of same in order to restore public confidence in the judicial system, as well as prompt and effective administration of justice. Number 8, we condemn jungle justice and lament its endemic nature in Nigeria and call for justice for all other victims of extrajudicial killings, the Tijaniya travelers who were murdered in Jos, the Baptist College Ijagbo hijab killing, the Lekki killing by Okada riders, and other similar acts of barbarism and mob violence.
The Benue State chapter of Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, yesterday had a rally to protest the gruesome murder of Deborah Samuel by various extremists in Sokoto State. The CAN chairman, Reverend Anpen Lever, who led the Benue Christians with placards, insisted that Christians cannot continue to bury their loved ones in the name of religion. Some of the placards read, "Enough is enough. We condemn the killings of Christians in Nigeria. Christians are not second-class citizens."
So my people in Benue State, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Condemn what happened in Sokoto State. The murder of Deborah Samuel was in a very barbaric manner. We condemn it with its totality and sympathize with the family for what happened. We want to call on all agencies in this nation, we want to call on the police, the military, the paramilitary, to please, as a matter of urgency, stop unprovoked killing in Nigeria. This sort of killing is not allowed in Nigeria again.
Kaduna State chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN) has raised an alarm that fundamentalists now use blasphemy as an excuse to kill Christians in northern region of the country. Reacting to the riot in Bauchi State over alleged blasphemy, the state CAN chairman, Reverend Joseph Hayab, said Christians now know and have evidence of how some of these allegations of blasphemies are false. He says they are just for blackmail or settling scores with passive enemies or well-mannered young girls who have refused sexual advances by the opposite sex from another religion. Hayab further asks if the recent sermons they're getting from some Islamic clerics on what the Holy Quran says what's about should be done if anyone is accused of blasphemy is unpopular amongst followers. He added that the challenge is now for government, authorities and security agencies to act fast to address this abuse of constitution before it leads to more serious conflict that cannot be handled. The Arawa community in Lagos has backed the state government's ban on commercial motorcycles, asking security agencies to impose stricter border checks as a way of curbing the influx of foreigners. In a communique issued by the association at the end of its extraordinary general meeting held in Lagos yesterday, it said the move, which was taken last week, was not new. While condemning the activities of criminal posing as Okada riders, the Arawa community claimed that most of them are foreigners from Niger Republic, Chad, Cameroon, and other neighboring nations. The federal government has appointed Mr. Namekwe Nwakwobu as the acting accountant general of the Federation. Nwabuoku is expected to carry out his duty in strict compliance with extant rules and observe the highest sense of professionalism. His appointment followed the suspension of Ahmed Idris, who is being investigated for alleged stealing 80 billion naira. Gordon Barrett is in partnership with the European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS, African Development Bank, Nexium Bank, and Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority organized a mental health work with a team Inner Peace is Priority. It's in commemoration of Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental health is a critical part of health and well-being, yet it has been neglected in Nigeria with little awareness. Like many other countries across the globe, Nigeria is faced with multi-public health challenges. It is pertinent to accelerate the conversation around mental health and how individuals can remain mentally and emotionally stable despite the challenges that besiege us all.
Interacting, connection with people, and the coping mechanism to just, deal with the mental issue and protect our inner peace. You see, for parents, you know your child more than anybody else. School, being in school is not enough anymore. The teachers are also working on the issues. You need to look at the body language and non-verbal communication of your children. There's also pressure in school. If you see that your child is not happy, you need to also compartmentalize being a mother and a father to also being a friend to your child. Let them be able to talk to you. Let them be able to talk to you in the different avenues of being a mother or a father, to being a friend, to understand what are the issues they're dealing with and how you can deal with it at home.
People are taking advantage, public bodies are taking advantage of what's available within the mental health improvement state. Like we always say, every day should be a mental health day, and I'm happy to see this happening. But you can see from all indications, a very good demographic was represented. We had the younger ones, we have the older ones coming together. It means people are beginning to understand that mental health affects us all, irrespective of our age and gender. But one thing we've learned here today is that mental health is not discriminatory. Mental health is not respect of anyone. Anybody can have it any time in his or her lifetime. But this has been a very good program, and it turned out I'm very impressed.
Actually, the work is very supportive for the mental health, because people that ignore mental health, it's very important in each house. You can see your partner, your wife, your kids, maybe they need help, but they will not show it to you. You have to ask them always, Are you okay? Do you need any help? So mental health, it's really important for each one of us.
The prices of food and other commodities keep skyrocketing daily, touching on the cost of living in Nigeria. Feel the pulse of the people on our street views.
You affect seriously, we can't even explain, because in my place of work, the place I will normally pay 500, go and come back. That was 2014, 2015. Now I pay 1,200.
We just have to keep on going with it now. We just hope it gets better. So how we are coping is work harder, and that's just what we can do.
I'm into food business, so I know it's affecting a lot. Particularly trying to get customers. When you give them prices of stuffs that we do, they complain that it's too expensive. But due to the constant increase in sales, in pricing, is really affecting the business. For example, a bag of flour last year was going for about 10,000, but now it's going for like 22,000, 23,000, depending on where you get it.
When you look at the rate at which prices of commodities are going up, is very, very high. In fact, average Nigerians are finding it very difficult to cope. And we want government to do something as soon as possible before things get out of hand.
When I was coming now, I had a small issue with my car, and I had to get, I think the person that wanted me fix it said I should get, what's it called? Jowl, ordinary jowl. Then we used to get it for like 1, 2 or thereabout. But the one I bought now is 2.5. Now. You get, so everything, food, rent, everything.
That affected my daughter. Like my daughter likes berries a lot, and berries that I used to buy for 1,000, now it's 3,000. I can't afford to always buy berries for her, so it's affected in every. I don't even know what to say about it.
And in entertainment news, Mr. Macaroni has said, irrespective of criticism of the style adopted for his comedy skit, he won't stop using women for his content. Aside from women-based content, the skit maker noted that his other comedy series would also continue unabated, adding that he was open to constructive criticism. Mr. Macron's clarification may not be unconnected to recent concern raised on Twitter by some Nigerians that the comedian's skits were always women-based without diversity. But in series of tweets on his Twitter page yesterday, he restated that his Freaky series were not only his content, thus he won't stop the series because of the backlash. And in sports news, AC Milan won their 19th Serie A title, but the first in 11 years by cruising to victory at a time where fans were initially unhappy at the Stefano Polio's appointment in 2019, given his previously managed rivals Inter, but he has masterminded this 2-point success over their former club. Oliver Giroud scored twice and Frank Cassi once as Milan won easily. Inter beats 3-0 on the final day, but Simeone's men could not deny their city rivals. And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Messi Bopo. Many thanks for watching.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye. Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Event is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. No question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event
on Plus TV. Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Vicky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people. But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa on a Monday. Welcome on the show. My name is Wally Scott. Now, too much drama over the weekend in the world of sports, especially football. Now, Manchester City retained the Premier League title in the most dramatic of fashion as they hauled themselves back from 2-0 down to beat Aston Villa 3-2 with 3 goals in the final 15 minutes on Sunday. Ike Gundogan came off the bench to score twice, with Rodri also on target as Pep Guardiola's men held off Liverpool's title charge to win the league by a point. In scenes reminiscent of the first of City's now 6 league titles in 11 seasons, when Sergio Kun Aguero scored the 93rd minute winner to deny Manchester United the title on goal difference. The champions produced a remarkable comeback at the Etihad. Goals from Matty Cash and former Liverpool favourite Felipe Coutinho looked set to give the Reds the title. Again, Klopp's men did their job by also coming from a goal down to beat Wolves 3-1 at Anfield. But City's rescue act ensured Liverpool's bid for an unprecedented quadruple is over.
Congratulate Liverpool for the last years, especially this one too. The magnitude of our achievement is because of the magnitude of this rival. I never ever had a rival like Liverpool in my career as a football player and manager. Me feel more proud as an organization because we know exactly which opponent we face. And we are incredibly happy. Aston Villa make an incredible performance. We didn't expect completely the opposite, but at the end, the Premier League, I'm not saying is better or more important than Champions League. I would not say that, but this is the most honest one. This is not, Premier League don't lie. It's 38 games, away, home. With many problems, all the teams, and at the end, who wins is because it was the best. All the team, as always, have done. Otherwise, you cannot achieve in 6 seasons or in the last 5 years win 4 Premier League. So these guys are legends already. I'm sorry. So the people have to admit it. This group of the players are absolutely eternal in this club because what we achieve is so difficult.
Pep Guardiola. I've got a Manchester City fan. He's so big that he's the secretary of Manchester City fans in Lagos. His name is Kayowa Ogunide. Welcome on the show, Kayowa. Hello, Kayowa. Can you hear me? Hello, Kayowa. Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Welcome on the show, Kayowa. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Hello, Kayowa. Hello, Kayowa. Can you hear me now? For some reason, Kiowa can't hear me yet. Okay? We'll go back to him. Okay? I can't. Well, Kiowa, can you hear me now? Hello, Kiowa. For some reason, Kiowa cannot hear me yet. Okay? We'll come back to him later. Now, Liverpool came from a goal down to beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 3-1 on Sunday, but it was not enough to earn them their second Premier League title as they finished second, 1 point behind champions Manchester City, who beat Aston Villa 3-2. After going behind to an early Pedro Neto tap-in, goals from Sadio Mane and late strikes from Mohamed Salah, Mo Salah, and Andy Robertson gave the home fans some cheer if their fate depended on their proceedings in Manchester. They finished the season on 92 points, one behind City for the second time in 3 years, but with a League Cup and FA Cup trophy in their cabinet. Jurgen Klopp's men also have a Champions League final against Real Madrid to look forward to next weekend.
It's not cool, but it's not completely unexpected, obviously. It was clear before the game that a lot of things have to happen. I said it, don't forget it, but I said it in all interviews already, and I will say it here as well, of course. Congratulations to Man City, Pep Guardiola, all staff, all players, whole club, for being champion. And we were close, but in the end, not close enough. That's how it is. Yeah, so I would, with all the things, I would have preferred actually that they are 5-0 up after 10 minutes, and then